Okay, for the start of this project, I'm going to be cutting the barrel down. So what I've done is I've had an extension for a Remington 870. I bought it off a guy on a forum. Complete set for $25, not too bad. I have received the MOE 4N for the Remington 870. It's in blaze orange, so that came in. I'm still having a little trouble finding the parts for the rail and the Magpul barrel and tube assembly, the little bracket that also doubles as a sling mount. I'm having trouble locating one of those locally, so I may have to go online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the barrel down using a technique with a pipe cutter. So it's going to be slow, not as jagged and rough as a hacksaw. So I'm going to use a pipe cutter to go ahead and cut it down. So that's what we're going to do to get our length. I've removed the hand guard, so this is what we're starting with. Okay, so the barrel length, I could have easily went the 18-inch route. Um, what I'm going to do is simplify it, staying well over 18 inches, which is legal. We're looking at 16 inches here, plus or minus 2 inches. I want to add a threaded end cap to it, so what I need to do is just calculate where I am going to cut. I'm going to leave the ribs on, and I'm going to be making my cut for the first rib right about here. I will finish it off, hacksaw it down, that part. I'm going to wrap this with some tape, protect it, and then I'm going to hacksaw this portion down, file it down with a file, and then I'm going to have the barrel threaded. I've been looking for a thread, I mean a die, tap and die set with the proper size, but I can't find anything. So I just might as well pay to have somebody thread it for me. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to make a clean cut, and the extension will probably go right about here. So what we're looking at is a 16, and let's go ahead and finish it off right there. So what we're looking at is a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, almost a 22-inch length of the barrel overall. And then when I do find the muzzle attachment that I want, then I can go ahead and remove the threaded portion and put that back on her. So we're well over the 18 inches that is required. So we're looking at 22 inches, and more or less this barrel, we're gonna be taking off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 inches, 5.5 to 6 inches of barrel. We're gonna be shortening it down. So let's go ahead and get onto that process, and we will tape it up, mount it in the vise, and start our first cuts. Okay, so I have my barrel. It's mounted in my small vise, and I have marked off where I need to cut. I'm going to cut just a little extra. You can always take away, but you can't add to. Using a little foam, some blue tape. We can see right here, this is it's secure, so it's not going to go anywhere other than my table shaking. So I'm going to go ahead and make the first cut, starting here. No turning back now. Start by getting my cut line. Okay, so it looks like we're going to get a nice straight line here. Since I Okay, so there's my starting line. That will give me plenty enough if I want to finish it, and to give me a little bit of overhang. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and I'll get back when I am finished. Okay, after just a few minutes, I've already worked my way well over 3/4 into it, making slow, steady strokes with the hacksaw to cut through the rib. I've protected the backside and put some cardboard down here so I wouldn't go all the way through and mar the barrel, anything that may be seen, so we don't have to patch it up, so we can get rid of some of this cheap cardboard. So let's go ahead and continue the process. Okay, the progress that I've made so far, I've got a good straight cut right in here, and I just hacked this part off right here. I'm going to be cutting the barrel approximately 3/4 of an inch in this spot right here, and what I'm going to be using is a tubing cutter, believe it or not. I've seen this done a couple times, so I'm going to attempt to use a tubing cutter. And I have two different sizes. I have a large one and a small one. So we're going to see how that works. Let me go ahead and get the tubing cutter set up, and we'll make a couple of rotations. Hopefully I have enough clearance on the left and right, which I should have. I don't see a problem with that as I crank down and continue to cut. Worst case scenario that I break both of those, and then I'll just have to try to get a replacement piece and continue cutting. But hopefully it's not very much metal to cut. I mean, yeah, it is steel, but I think we can go ahead and do that. Alright, let me set it up. Okay, so we have a slow-go process of cutting. I had some tape on here to protect the barrel on the the side I'm going to keep, but that caused the cutter to drift, and I had a spiral. It looked like I was threading it actually, so I took that off, cleaned it up with a little bit of WD-40, and continuing to cut. So it's not coming out too bad so far. Let me go ahead and crank the vise down. Go ahead and give it a couple of rotations. I'm going to go back and forth. So we've gotten rid of the drifting, and we're continuing to cut slowly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of WD-40 as a cutting oil, so it's just a little lubricant. So let's go ahead and, come on, just a little bit. There we go. So give it a good little crank and continue with it. Anybody who's cut copper tubing, then you know the process of this right here, basically. So it's giving me a very nice round even cut. I'll have to finish out some of the burrs. As you can see, the cut's coming along good. It's not going to deform the barrel because this is basically designed to cut copper as opposed to steel, but it's working on light steel here, so, or whatever material this barrel's made out of. So, but it's giving me the nice round straight cut that I want. So as you can see right here, we're getting a nice cut right in here. Okay, just give it a little crank, and I will go ahead and continue this. I think it's probably going to be coming through here any minute, or I'm just fooling myself. But as long as that cutter rides within the groove, I'm going to be good to go. Now I got this, of course, Harbor Freight tools, because once again, am I going to use this pipe cutter? No. Do I know that it'll break eventually? Yes. For $6, I can't go wrong unless it breaks. But then once again, I'll just get a new one. Once again, this is a budget build shotgun, so remember that I don't want to put more money into the shotgun than I paid for the shotgun. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on this so I can get this camera out of the way, and I will come back when the cut is complete. Okay, so now we have cut through the barrel itself using a pipe cutter. So this one is a shot. I use this mainly for the majority of the cutting. The blade is now just deformed, so I got my $6 out of it. I could probably always get another replacement cutter, but then I continued using my smaller one here, and I mean, that one's gonna need a new blade as well, but eventually I was able to get through. It did maintain a good cut all the way around, so I'm happy with that, with minimal marring on this side. But of course, once again, this will be threaded. to accept a muzzle device. Well, hey, there we go. Our piece just fell off, so that was unplanned. Okay, if you can tell here, you know, we cut through quite a bit of metal right there, so go ahead and I'm going to experiment on deburring and finishing on my cut end right here, so I can look across and I got a very, very, very nice looking cut. Okay, once again, I have some burrs here that'll have to be taken care of. Nothing a few slugs won't take care of. But no, I'll finish it out, and we'll see what we can come up with. So you've taken approximately, let's see, what do we got? We're looking at 5 3/4 inches of barrel removed. It's got a choke in here, but being unfamiliar with this shotgun, I don't know if it's a left-handed thread or a normal thread. So because I couldn't get this out of there, this choke. What worried me was I thought I was cutting through a steel sleeve on the inside. That's what was really tearing my blade up. But it came out nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and practice with the deburring on the scrap piece. And we'll get back with the finished product here in a few minutes. It did take me quite a bit longer than I thought, so probably about 40 minutes of just cut, twist, cut, twist, cut, twist. Okay, I exaggerated, maybe 30 minutes, but still, it seemed like it. It started getting pretty hot, but I was just working slow. Didn't want to ruin anything and break the tool, because if I had a broken tool, then it would have been useless, but they got my money's worth out of it. So alright, we'll get back to the next chapter. Okay, so now as my project continues along, the parts that I have available to me to work with right now are the Magpul MOE 4-end in bright orange. Now this thing is much more oranger, if that's a word, on the website. I thought it might have been like a maybe a Tapco colored orange, which would have been nice, but blaze orange on the web. Ooh boy, that is it's a traffic cone orange, but it's a little bit more of a shocking effect. I'm going for the 870 Magpul buttstock assembly too as well, so it's gonna be pretty orange. I know one other guy on the internet right now on YouTube who has one that's got the orange furniture. I'm gonna have to mail order that. Nobody in Colorado Springs has it, and I mean, for obvious reasons. It's a very specific taste for a shotgun. But what Magpul gives you is a tool that comes with it that removes the castle nut. So as if you look right here, I know these gloves are probably driving people crazy on the internet, but you know, once again, I like keeping my hands clean. So this castle nut screw right here will screw into the threaded portion right here. As well, I do have to bore out and finish up a couple of spots right in here, so the spring assembly and the plunger will continue to push down, because if not, they'll bump into this little area right here. So I have to go ahead and take care of that and drill in some holes. But let's go ahead for giggles here. Let's go ahead and slide this on. Let's see what we can get. Am I putting it on right? Hopefully I am. It's a little tight. Maybe I have it on backwards. Or maybe I'm just an idiot. Or it's a combination of both. Let's see. Very little wiggle room there, so we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and check this out a little bit and get back to you. I'm going to do a dry assembly, and once I do, we'll come back. Okay, so I was able to assemble the handguard, and it's going to be on there permanently now. It took a little work, but this tool that Magpul provides you, this is what it does. It go ahead and screws the castle nut. The assembly, getting the oh, there it is, getting the bolt assembly back in there was a little tricky once I figured out how to do it. Once again, this is the first time I've ever had this rifle disassembled this far. Give it a little crank. Alright, go ahead and remove that, put it away for safekeepings, and we have our pump action. Once again, this is just in a vise, so Feels good, feels like any other Magpul MOE piece. Let's go ahead and assemble the barrel while we're here, just to give it a dry fit. I still haven't drilled out those holes yet. Let's go ahead and pump the action back. Go ahead and feed that on. A little tight. Let's see. I'm beginning to think this is not even designed. Well, here I am. I'm just taking a chance that everything will fit. It says 870 parts, so I've seen it done on a couple other. There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm just an idiot. I get that a lot. And I'll go ahead and we will put the tube extension on. Give us an idea of what we're looking at as far as barrel length. Okay, so give that barrel a little push right there. Okay, so now you could see before that barrel extended quite a ways out there, but then we chopped it off. I'm going to be having a real gunsmith go ahead and thread this on. I just don't want to spend the money. I think the piece that I need, the tool, is about $50. That's the cheapest I found it. So I don't want to spend $50 when I could just have some guy do it. And then that'll, hopefully I'll have him cut it down so the muzzle piece will bump up against the cut portion of the rail right there. So basically what we have is an extended 12 gauge with a 2 or 3 shot tube. Got that off a guy online for 25 bucks. He shipped it down from Denver. Got here actually, he sent it off Tuesday, got here Wednesday. So and this right here, I ordered this on Monday morning from Magpul up in Wyoming, and it got here the next day. So you know, 24-hour turnaround. Not bad. It was on clearance for 15 bucks. So it was a total of like $21 shipped. I think it was a little under $21 shipped. So they normally go for $29, but you know, come on, who's gonna be? It's not like it's Flat Dark Earth or the black ones. Those are gonna be the more popular ones. What I have here is basically, you know, clearance. So what we're getting at now is something I'm liking a whole lot. Some people might not like the orange, but I don't know. I kind of like it. All right, so I will keep you updated. I will go ahead and drill out those 2 small areas. So let the round plug and the spring assembly go in. So all intents and purposes, it'll be a working shotgun. So once again, it hasn't been fired yet, but let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and drill those holes and get the spring assembly, and then put some rounds in there to see if I can actually, how many it'll actually hold. I think it's supposed to hold 8 plus 1, so we're looking at a 9 shot. All right, it continues on. Okay, we're going to continue on. It's a little bit later in the night. Going to continue on with opening up the tube, and what I mean by that is this is from the kit, from the extension kit that I got, that fits an 870, threads right on. The portion that continues to push the rounds down got an extended spring and a bright high visibility plunger, I guess, for a better word. It will not go all the way in, because the original one was designed to stop at a certain point and continue on this way, but since I'm adding the extension tube, I have to make a seamless transition from the inside. So I have to, there's these little portions right here. I'm going to have to drill these out. So what I'm going to do is, I already tapped a small hole as a guide, and then I'm going to go ahead and set myself up a drill bit. We'll start off with a smaller one, and we will work our way out. So let's go and see if I got any juice left in this one. Okay, so go ahead and starting, hopefully it doesn't want to drift. Let's see how difficult this will be. There we go. There's the first part. Let's go ahead and open that one up just a little bit more. Go ahead and bump it up. changing out drill bits again here off camera. Alright, let's go ahead and okay, so there we go. So okay, I could feel the difference now. All I do is have to finish drilling out just a little bit of portion. What I'm probably going to do is get a sanding tip and just grind that out right there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the shotgun over, and we'll do the same on each side. On the opposite end. So let's get these little pieces out. Go ahead and adjust the vise just to hold it. Let's go ahead and move this over here. My punch. Gonna go ahead and take my punch. You don't want to hit the tube too hard because you don't want to distort it. Just give it a little start or something so that drill bit has something to grab onto. And we'll go ahead and repeat that process and have a finished product here in a few minutes. And what we have here is our second one on the bottom. Once again, still will not allow that to go through, but you could see it starting to come through here. So what we need to do is just clean this up. What I'm going to do is use a little sander on a drill bit and sand some of that metal down, and hopefully that'll get us in the zone there. But you get the idea. Once I get that moving freely, okay, then we'll go ahead and continue on. Okay, so after doing a little bit of work, I was able to drill out, smooth out, and I'm going to put a little bit of bluing in here to prevent any rusting later on. This is the factory cap that came with it. It's a bright orange, and it seems to fit right in there. It runs right. I don't know if I can get it out. Okay, and here is the high visibility green one, and that one runs through. So I'm going to sand it just a little bit more, and then I'm going to sand the outside of this right here to make sure it's going to run a little smoother. You wouldn't want anything in a moment to bind up, bind or pinch. So that's one thing I'm going to have to keep in mind when I also put the tube extension on there, is I don't want it. I mean, it's pretty good in there right now. So I'm going to try both of these to see which one is better. I like the high visibility orange. Not as sturdy, but it'll hold up. But this one here, no doubt, solid through and through. So there is no doubt that this one wouldn't bend or warp. But under the spring pressure, hopefully that spring pressure will keep it enough to go in here. Maybe some grease inside there to lubricate it. But I'm going to go ahead and polish it up just a little bit with some sandpaper just to ensure that. And that should be all she wrote on this part of the install. I'm still frantically looking for parts online, mainly the Weaver rail. And that should be good. I'm going to have to contact this guy, a gunsmith, and see what he can do about threading the barrel. So, alright, we'll continue on. Okay, so I have finished polishing out the inside. I'm satisfied with the action. Alright, it does. I sanded this down a little bit, and I am satisfied with the action. I also put down a couple of dummy rounds. Okay, I don't think they're going to be hanging up anytime soon. There's a little bit of play in there. So what I did was I sanded it. I cleaned it out. I cleaned out the tube. I then sanded it, cleaned it with some alcohol, and then once I was satisfied with that, I wiped a white rag on there to make sure there wasn't any oil or residue. What I did was I heated it up with a heat gun, the barrel tip right in here, all the way up in here. I just made sure that it was nice and hot, and then I added some of this Birchwood Casey light gun blue, or liquid gun blue, I'm sorry, and touched it up. So now it's back to a factory finish. You'd be hard pressed to tell that there was any sanding or polishing going in there. Once you get it nice and hot, I found that you clean the metal, you sand it down to bare metal, or as best you can. Clean it with acetone, possibly. Sometimes I've done, and alcohol. Alcohol will evaporate pretty quick, as well as acetone. And then once you get the surface nice and hot, you go ahead and apply with a Q-tip liberally. Just splash around. Make sure you're getting all these little corners inside, especially in here and here. And you will instantly see the metal start turning black, like it's blued. So it gives it a little bit a better appearance. Even though you won't see it, I know it's there. Plus, it protects it from corrosion and rust. So that was a real quick fix. Took me all of maybe 5 minutes. Once you finish letting that Permablue set on for a few minutes, it'll start to turn yellow and look really ugly. But if you wipe it down with some oil, any kind, I use WD-40, Remington oil, any kind of oil that you can use, just something to stop that rust and to that corrosion look. So what we have here is the finished product, and I will go ahead and let's go ahead and feed this tube down. Okay. Well, what I should have done first was make sure that fits properly. Okay, so now we have our plunger. Okay. And what we're going to have here in a little while is set this up, and we should have, it's really coarse thread. So here we go. Okay, now they're catching. Okay, just minus the barrel, what we're going to have here now is the extension completed. The barrel is going to, the barrel and the bracket are going to cover this, so you will never see it. One thing, keep in mind, put some oil in there occasionally. But once we have that finished product, it's going to look pretty good. So there we go so far. I'm going to go ahead and do a dry fit so far, and it will be a functioning shotgun now that I could feed and load ammo into it. Alright, let's continue on. Okay, so for tonight, I have completed the cutting of the barrel, shortening it down, which needs to be threaded. Okay, so I told you I was going to get that taken care of. So I left a little bit extra so the guy can chop it down, thread it, because I want the threading to bump up against the rib. I have assembled the tube assembly. I also placed the barrel tube assembly. I'm going to get the Magpul one. Of course, might as well stick with the theme of Magpul. So we'll have Magpul sling mount and barrel tube extension mount, Magpul Remington 870, and in future Magpul MOE for the 870 orange, bright blaze orange like this, and the rail. The rail will probably be ordered first thing Monday morning. As you can see, I can fit an extended tube with, these are just standard 2 3/4. That's because that's what I had right here with my dummy shotgun shells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will hold 8 comfortably in the tube. I can't get 9 in there even if I was to shorten the plunger. So I'm not even going to attempt it. So we have basically an 8 plus 1, and that's for 2 3/4 shells. Now 3-inch shells, I'm going to have to break some of those out, and we're looking at possibly maybe getting, I would want to say maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 shots plus 1. So you're looking at 8. But I'll have to load that full of 3-inch loads. So for tonight, the function of the shotgun, I did load 8 to make sure that they loaded in there, and they did eject. There was no hang-ups, there was no hiccups, there was no screw-ups. So I guess what I did was pretty good for a man cave gunsmith, all except for the cutting of the barrel right here. So yeah, it probably wasn't the best move to put the live shells in there, but they were able to feed into the tube and feed into the chamber and eject. So everything's looking pretty good so far. We're doing all right. But for right now, this shotgun is back to an operating shotgun. It will load, chamber, and fire. All right. Stay tuned. More to come in the future once I get the funding, which will probably wind up costing more for the buttstock than the entire weapon. You're looking at about $109 to $90 on the low end. I've seen them. So let's see what we can do. We're going to put more into the weapon than we did for the weapon. So, all right. Stay tuned for more.